If you have been searching all your life for hard-hitting patch analysis, then look no further. Patch 8.10 is here. And though there aren't that many hero updates, the jungle has been thrown for a loop, because I guess it's been a while since Riot changed the jungle, so here we are. The TLDR is that it's going to take more time for junglers to hit level 3, but there's more to it than that, and Beaver can explain it a lot better than I can, so you should just listen to him talk about it, while the rest of us cheer him on. There's also a change to the warding totem, and some rune updates. As a whole, it's a smaller patch, but it could have some big ramifications. So stay tuned, for you're about to experience the ultimate in patch note discussion.
Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pony ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pon Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adaponophobia Cogswell, host for the evening, episode 536. Gonna be talking about patch 8.10 this evening. Jungle changes to come to this patch. Not that many champion changes overall, but there should be quite a bit of discussion at the end. I know Punch is super excited to get in and talk about this because the community changes are abundant.
So many changes that affect me.
You know, could there be a change that affects how often you play the game?
Did you check my alt account?
Oh, no, I don't. I don't check any of your accounts. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Have you gotten it down to Bronze 5 yet?
I should be playing more.
Same.
But I have been playing.
I think I did see Mini. What is it? Is it Mini Lols or whatever? The logged online the other day.
Yep, I was on Monday.
Did you guys have was it Monday night? I played with Thallium. Played PUBG with him. Did you guys play like a couple games and like quit? And he
could have been Monday.
PUBG.
They usually stay on and play PUBG after I go to bed.
Okay, got it. Oh, that's what happened. Anyway, that's not here or there. Beaver, Vrail, Punch obviously is here, and Moon have joined us for this podcast episode. Don't have a bear. We need to all change our name, by the way. We need to have more animal names.
Mm-hmm. Animal cast.
Okay. I claim guinea pigs.
Oh, damn, that's right. He would claim guinea pigs. So, well, fuck it, guys. Let's just jump right into the patch notes. Patch 8.10 coming to your ears. Scion, we're going to talk champions. Scion being changed in this patch. Base stats, base health regen, going down to 9 per 5 from 10 per 5. They're changing Roar the Slayer to work more like you would expect it to work. Base damage is down a little bit, was 70 to 210, now it's 65 to 205. Ability power ratio up to 0.55 from 0.4. Secondary target damage is down to 100% to target struck by a knocked back enemy. It was 130%. Armor reduction now, it is 20% to all targets hit by Roar the Slayer or a knocked back enemy. Before it was if you just eat somebody, you had the reduction. Also, the armor reduction duration is up to 4 seconds from 2.5.
Good. So it's actually a useful tank ability now that you could like use in team fights and stuff, as opposed to just poking somebody out of the lane. Not only as a top laner, but also as a support. I'm sure it's still good as poke in lane. Like they didn't hurt the damage that much, but it is 30% damage down from getting hit by a knockback enemy. But that armor shred is great. Because it used to be you just had to hit them directly with the spell to get the armor shred, and that would rarely happen in a team fight.
I think what's mostly happening with this ability is they're tying the success of it to landing your Q afterwards. So they've, made the armor reduction duration a lot longer. So you have a better window to set up your Q because the damage and the ratio and the secondary target bonus is all decreased. You're going to lose a lot of damage in trades unless you're following up with Q successfully. But it should be easier to do that now.
Should be. I think they're also targeting this. I mean, Sion's pretty dominant on a top lane, but I guess he's becoming more and more popular mid as a way to counter a lot of the mages, and I'm sure reducing damage on E is one way for them to make that a little less.
You can play him in any lane because of E.
Yeah, Banner Rush mid sound is real annoying to deal with if you're a mage.
Oh,
it's real annoying.
We were also talking to Dom, and he believes this is buff to support Scion, who's had a pretty decent win rate for a while now. Which is true, because reducing the target you hit's armor by 20% with a knocked back enemy or minion does allow the AD carry to get some heavier poke in.
Maybe, they'd probably need to pick up a BF sword at least first to make up for the damage that you're losing.
Oh, you mean the AD carry?
Yeah. No, Scion. Support Scion needs a BF sword.
I mean, I've seen worse.
Or serrated Dirk, probably.
That's true. I shouldn't joke about that.
Yeah, let's not do that. Dr. Mundo getting changed. Sadism, they buffed it last patch, but they're going to nerf it a little bit this patch. Cooldown was 100 to 70, is now 110 to 90. The cost now is 25% of your current health. Do it's kind of like an in unison good because Dr. Mundo was too goddamn good?
Yes, very much so.
I don't think this really does much. His R still heals him for 100% of his HP. So.
Yeah.
Their cooldown is still low enough. But before this change, it was... I don't know, even after this change. He's
building a lot of CDR.
You're going to have this really whenever you want it, unless you're just eating poke, unless you're doing a terrible job of getting into bad engages and eating a bunch of poke. You're going to have this to stay in lane as much as you want. R is on a pretty short cooldown.
A few patches in the past, they had buffed Dr. Mundo's cooldown on his R. That's when they had lowered it to where it's at 70 seconds now. And they had wanted to basically put power in his ult before, and they wanted people to just be using it more often, but it didn't really pan out, mean anything. So now they're just kind of going back on that, now that they've given it such a big boost in healing. I don't know if it's too strong to say, but I don't know. I like that Mundo heals as much as he does. I don't really think it's too ridiculous, to be honest. I think if anything is too much, it's just that rank 3. I really think rank 1 and 2 feel fine. It's just when he hits that 16 spike, it feels like it's too much.
Yeah, and Mundo's traditionally good against teams that have a lot of AP, because they can't sort of burst him through all his health. So, yeah, like Todd was saying, when he hits level 16, he's pretty annoying to kill. But when you can just generically pick him into any team comp, even with the amount of grievous wounds in the game, and he's seeing this much success, he definitely deserved a nerf. But I don't think he was like super overbearing, so this probably just brings him in line.
All right.
It was a pretty big boost. His win rate jumped, I think, like 5% across top and jungle.
Yeah.
But he was like bottom 10 hero in the game.
Yeah,
so,
he was struggling before.
So like, just to put it into perspective, like he wasn't ridiculous or anything already.
When he still had some bad matchups into certain bruisers. So.
But don't worry. Starting this patch, we're going to see less and less of these guys around anyway. Just wait till next, when everyone's playing assassins all the time. Poppy getting a change on this patch as well. The changes previous to this, they were intending them to be power neutral, but they feel they nerfed her a little too hard.
But they weren't,
a little bit back.
And everyone told them they weren't, and they're just like, "Yeah, we don't believe you."
Yeah, and that's
did
the
it
thing.
anyway.
So they gave her 5 movement speed back. It's back to 345. And Punch, what you were saying is exactly how I feel about it, because I looked at all those changes. I remember doing the patch notes and saying this probably makes Poppy really good, or way better than she was previously. And granted, I wasn't looking at win rates, or I don't ever see a Poppy, but coming from a Poppy player, did you play her since the changes?
I haven't played her since the changes. I have been keeping track of them. There was so when they were first introduced onto the PT PBE, I have to get my PTR PBE acronyms correct. There was somebody put a really good thread on the low forums, the feedback forums about those changes, and because there was a lot of negative feedback for them, like the instant negative backlash, mostly on Reddit, but across the low forums as well, I suppose. So what he did is he tried to analyze these changes, and he tried to get why people didn't like them. So he tried to get a lot of feedback across the Poppy Main subreddit, the League of Legends subreddit, and the League forums, and kicked out all of the responses that were like, "Oh, this is stupid," that didn't provide any insight, just like general Riot is dumb responses, and came up with a really good thread about like why people enjoy playing Poppy, why they don't like these changes, why they don't like Riot's philosophy of shoehorning her into a tank, because one of the big reasons people like her is because you can play her in many different styles. Support, assassin if you're crazy enough. Top lane bruiser, top lane tank. There's many different ways to play her, and Riot just their rationale for putting these changes forward was, well, we feel like she needs to be more of a tank. So people didn't like that. And then, so I was long-winded, but I didn't have my chance to speak about these changes last patch because I wasn't on the episode. But one of the issues with the changes that I made was adding increased range to her E, if you remember, heroic charge. And they took away movement speed as a response. And I said, well, I mean, if they're going to have increased range with her E, take some movement speed away, so she has, she's not too powerful, so she can't engage from too far away. But really, that was a net neutral in your engage. If it takes you longer to get to your target, but you have a little bit more range on E, essentially it takes you the same amount of time to get to them and actually use the charge. But ignoring the engage aspect, removing 5 movement speed is just a net nerf overall, because you use movement speed for a lot more than just getting to your target and engaging.
Right.
You use it to move all across the map. So it was really a net nerf as opposed to a neutral that they were going for in this particular case, and that's why they added the 5 movement speed back. And hooray, everyone's happy again because they got 5 movement speed. Not really.
Well said, Punch. I like that. I like that analysis. We need more of that. I'm gonna stick you to that next time.
Well, don't expect me to give a lot more than that.
When the Camille changes come through in a couple patches.
Oh yeah, someday. Yep. First thing you did when I opened up this patch, Control F, Camille 0 entries for Camille. All right.
Punch is like, great.
Close this patch.
She's banned.
I'm done here. Don't need to read anything else. Let's continue.
Well, we could read about Zac, who's getting changed. Unstable Matter no longer deals initial 2% targets max health per 100 ability power. They moved some of that power elsewhere in his kit. E has a new ability power ratio of 0.9 from 0.7. R, less balance, now has 0.9 ability power ratio from 0.7. Scary jungle Zac incoming?
No. Zac's terrible now.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any ability power.
This is a good ARAM change, though, yeah? Pineapples will be happy with this one. Go full AP Zac on ARAM.
See? There you go.
I kind of like the way these look on paper, but I'm not a Zac player, so I don't know how it actually feels.
One thing you always did with Zac was you'd build, like, I have a friend who's a Zac one trick top lane for some reason, but he does well for himself. He gets to mid-diamond usually. He typically builds stuff like Leandry's, kind of like penetration items, maybe Void Staff here and there, because his ratios, quote, aren't very good. And he likes to just sustain a little bit, deal as much like sort of AoE damage as he can, and crowd control with the rest of it. So I think this just helps him out with those sort of items.
What season is it? Is this season 4 right now, where we had Zac top lane all the time, or season 3, whatever?
It just shows you can play whatever the hell you want.
That was shortly after he was released, I think, right?
Yeah, he got played top for a while.
But this effectively does nothing to tank Zac, right? Because you're not getting any ability power anyway.
Yeah, it does nothing.
Also, we'll get to the jungle changes later, but Zac's pretty much a horrible jungler now.
Pretty much all tanks, right?
Yeah, there's a couple okay ones, but we'll get to them when we finish these champs.
Yeah, there's only two champs, and they're very small. Bard W Caretaker's Shrine now costs 70 mana instead of 90. A change that's needed to happen about 20 years ago. So great. Kindred. Passive mark the Kindred. If an ally kills a hunted jungle monster within 6 seconds of Kindred damaging it, Kindred will still acquire the passive stack quality life buff.
That's nice.
That's champions, right? Nothing there to write home about. Like Gratz, Bard, Aram Bard, you are going to be able to spam your W's for a little less mana. And it does help out of the Rift, though.
There's a lot of noteworthy champions that should be in these patch notes, but are not.
Right.
One of which is Camille and Graves and There's lots of others, I'm sure. I don't know what the bot lane meta is now, but Enchantress
Kai'Sa.
still seem like a
I
problem.
think it's still Kai'Sa.
It's Kai'Sa.
I'm like already sick of Graves, dude. I hate
Oh my
that Champa's
goodness,
meta.
he is so broken. And this specific patch makes him even better than he was last patch, and he was like absurdly dominant.
I saw him get picked like 2 or 3 times over the course of 4 or 5 games, and I said I'm just gonna start banning him because I've never seen him. I've never seen him perform well, but I've seen him picked enough that I go, he should be performing well, or I know he should be, so I should just ban him.
Yeah, I got him in solo queue today. I went 15-0.
Holy crap.
Select. So he's absurdly dominant. We can talk about reasons why. I guess we should probably go through the changes.
Yeah, those are more
Finish up these
important than
items.
talking about Graves at the moment.
We'll talk about him when we get through all the changes.
All right, so Runic Echoes is being updated, changed on this patch, and now builds out of a lost chapter instead of an Aether Wisp. It no longer has a movement speed, and the cooldown reduction, and it has had cooldown reduction and mana added. So essentially, it is Stalker's Blade plus a lost chapter plus 325 gold, no movement speed, 300 mana, 10% cooldown reduction.
This is a good change, I think. I'm not a jungler.
I think it's terrible.
I probably shouldn't have said it first, but I'm an Amumu player. I am an Amumu player, and
I was
always
just
felt
thinking
like
that
there
also.
needed to be a mana CDR item for junglers because of people like Amumu. So I personally like it, but
I think it's fine. It opens up, quote, like we'll say viability for a few more champions, but if you directly compare how many AP junglers want 300 mana and 10% cooldown reduction versus how many junglers that want 7% flat movement speed, which is possibly the most important stat as a jungler because you have to run around the entire map. I don't think there's very many champions that are gonna like benefit hugely from this. Like like you said, like it's gonna be better on a Mumu, it's gonna be better on champs that are like slow clearing, but they're not gonna be viable against junglers like Braves who are gonna be dominant, and Xin Zhao who are gonna be dominating the meta with these
Amumu
changes.
does not have a slow clear. I just felt like that needed to be said.
His clear isn't slow, but he can't duel anyone.
Yeah, that's
early
true.
game.
Yeah, he's a weak duelist.
And we'll get to Scuttle Crab, but Scuttle Crab's insanely important now. It gives you huge chunks of experience and gold, and it's pretty important to be able to contest those in the early game for your team.
Right.
I just like, it's okay, but I just think the movement speed was pretty important. And like if you think of the good AP junglers like Nidalee and who else? Elise.
I mean, I
don't
agree
know.
with you that the movement speed's important. I mean, behind range, I think movement speed's probably the next best stat in the game.
Well, yeah, range.
Yeah. So like range is the most important
You
stat,
can't
and then
acquire
and
that
then
though. That just like comes in your kit, right?
right, exactly. But,
Rapid fire cannon. Just saying.
But,
Yeah, dude.
but behind that, movement speed is definitely the next most important.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that's all very true. But at the same time, I think that the problem is like mana used to be a real restriction, and now we've kind of gotten to a point where mana's doesn't hurt us so much. Really, what they should have is just more options.
Yeah.
Because some champions need this
yeah.
version of it, and some champions need the other versions.
I disagree with the mana is for sure an issue again in mid lane later in the game with all the changes
Yeah.
I've made. I've been playing a fair bit and I've been running out of mana like at the 30-minute mark real frequently.
But what about in the
But,
jungle?
as-
Like, don't
as
you
far
get
as
more mana
jungle
regen?
items, yeah, you get mana regen in the jungle. But the thing is, like, if you're talking about viability for AP junglers, like what they want to do is bring AP junglers into the meta. Mana is not an issue for people. Like you still see Nidalee getting played at a high level, and people who understand AP champs like Nid and Elise, you can manage your mana properly. You just don't use abilities that you don't need to when clearing the jungle, and do that safely, and then use your abilities on ganks. So them gaining 300 mana is not going to suddenly put them into the sort of like put them into the top tier. It's going to be other things
Right.
in their kit. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. But I agree with Todd. There needs to be like 5, 6, even 7 different items. But that's obviously hard to balance. So
I mean, I think it's really not. I mean, it's not to stay on the subject for too long, but I don't think it's super difficult. I really do feel like like the Ed of the Jungle. There's only an HP item for like the tank item, right? But what about characters who need to
Mana
prioritize
CDR.
resistances or
yeah.
or something instead, like
Like a
More-
like a Frozen Heart Light or something.
Yeah, or something like that, or like maybe just or not even. What about if it's a tank that doesn't need AOE clear? Like, what if that power could be into another defensive stat instead, and if they can already clear off their base stats, like
I'd also like to see a support item for the jungle, like for Nunu and Ivern.
and like a true like auto attacker item too. Like there's Blood Razor, but that's only good on people who have like multiple on hit applications. I feel like Master Yi and Shyvana, when you play somebody like Tryndamere, you know what I mean? Like Tryndamere doesn't really want that. Jax doesn't really want that. I mean, maybe, but they're almost better skipping the jungle item and just building a core item instead, like Triforce or.
That's what you do on those two champs, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And the same with Garen, somebody who I think could be viable in the jungle if they had better item options. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a jungler, but I might if there were more items. I might try jungling more often if there were better items.
I'm curious if Riot is okay with. Man, I'm getting way off topic here. But I'm just curious if Riot is kind of okay with keeping champions in specific roles, no matter how many times they say they want champions to be able to play multiple roles, or else they would be adding some kind of team into the jungle. But I think they also realize if they start adding those type of items, those other core items, we'll call them, or whatever, alternate items, that champions that could use those will abuse it rather than the champions that need it, being the most powerful. It's always a risky run when kind of adding those extra items to the game. So I guess just kind of hitting the flat, here's AD, here's health, here's mana and ability power. Good luck, have fun.
Didn't they kind of had that when they had the AoE smite for clean camps?
Yeah, but then everyone would just take it because it makes your clear faster.
Right.
So it was clearly better than the other two.
Right.
That's the problem.
Well, we don't have to worry about any of that right now because the jungle has been kind of leveled over on this patch. Monster camps now have a lot less experience early, and it scales up with levels. Monster camp experience now scales with level, capping at level 7. So essentially, you can still hit level 2 off your first camp, but you can no longer hit level 3 off of 3 camps using your standard route. Yeah, it takes you 4 camps now to hit level 3. And
it takes you 4 camps, yeah.
Yeah, and that potentially
sometimes 3.5.
I thought it was 3 camps if you take Gromp, or is it the rocks?
No, you have to take Krugs.
Krugs, okay.
But Krugs are tough to take level 1, so pretty much not many champions can do it.
Yeah.
Somebody was experimenting on the practice tour earlier today. I just saw a Reddit thread about it, and he said he was able to hit level 3, clearing on his way to top lane, so he was able to gank top lane level 3.
Yep.
By taking,
you can still do that.
Taking red, raptors, and then the 2 small wolves, not the big wolf, then going on to blue. Obviously, that depends a lot on who you're playing and how quickly you can take those small wolves. Because if it takes you a long time to kill those anyways, if you get like a single target damage jungler, that's not going to be worth it. But he did it with Kayn and said he was able to kill it pretty quickly.
We should probably do that and then theory craft.
All right, my bad.
It's a good idea though.
Yeah, so
it's going to take a while for everyone to find out the best paths and stuff.
Right.
I read these patch notes earlier and I've just been thinking about it all day.
I can't wait for these jungle changes.
So we talked about that. Everything's worth less experience. Essentially, it now takes you 4 camps to get to level 3. Essentially, obviously, there's some theory crafting going on here or what could go on. Rift Scuttler, though, has been completely changed on this patch. 2 spawn at the beginning of the game. Once you kill both, only 1 spawns, and it's random which one spawns as the game progresses. So the initial spawn time is down to 2 minutes. The gold reward has been increased from 70 to 140, scaling with levels 1 to 9. The experience granted now scales with levels from 1 to 9, getting a significant amount of experience at level 9. The health has been increased to compensate for these changes. It was 800 to 3,920. It is now 1,200 to 2,480. And the respawn time has been significantly lowered down to 135 seconds from 180. We had talked about this previously when we saw these changes coming, thinking that Scuttler was now going to... It also gives you extra mana and on death now, too. It was 10 to 40. It's now 50 to 200 based on your missing mana percent. And he also has a shield indicator now. So if you kill... So if you stun him and, you remove his shield... it'll let you know that happened.
Yeah, and he's like quite a large unit now. The first time you see it, you'll be like, "What the hell is that?" But
Yeah, it has like the Rift Herald-esque health bar on top of it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
it glows
a-
a certain color before if you haven't CC'd it to remove its
Glows yellow, I think.
resistances.
So yeah, it's like I think you guys should be treating this as a very important camp, especially early. Like it gives you as much, if not more, experience than the other camps. So don't just treat it as something extra. Treat it as like a camp that sits between you and your enemy, and that you should be looking to prioritize that if you're a good duelist. For sure.
Yeah. Add it to your initial clear, likely. Because you can still use it to gain back your mana and life as you previously did, because it's not attacking you. But it just takes a little longer to kill.
And it's worth noting, it has a timer too, so after the first 2 initial spawns, it'll tell you which side it's spawning on in a minute. Gives you the glowing jungle timer, so you'll know it's going to be up if you want to plan your route.
So how do you feel about all these changes? I know you have notes.
Oh my god. So I've played 10 solo queue games since the patch, and I've been 8-2. 2 of the wins were on Graves, so they're sort of free wins, but basically it's changed the jungle in that if you have a slow clear, or you're not a very healthy clearing champion, you're going to really struggle because you have to be able to clear more camps to hit 3 levels. And because there's obviously like a 33% power difference between levels 2 and 3, you don't just get that for free anymore by going buff, wolves buff. You have to slide an extra camp in there. So what I've seen a lot of pros doing, and what I've sort of been trying out, is going blue, Gromp, wolves, red, and that'll get you level 3, and you can gank top pretty early, or mid. And then the other clear would be red, wolves, blue, Gromp, starting on bot side if you like to get a better leash. The problem with the latter is that you have less mana to clear camps, so it can be a little bit tricky. But both of them, it's very important, since you're hiding another camp, to be able to clear them with high health, so that you can go and contest a Scuttle Crab or actually gank. So if you're clearing 4 camps and barely surviving because you're someone like, not to pick on a Moo, he's got a decent clear, but like a Sejuani, for example, like she gets pretty low on her first clear, she's not going to be able to do 4 camps really successfully, so you're going to see those junglers decline. And the problem we're going to find, I think, in the next patch or 2 is that champs like Braves, who's ranged, can kite the camps. Nidalee's notoriously good for dealing with camps early. These champions are going to really rise in popularity. As well as sort of like bruiser tanky junglers that have obscene sustain, like Xin Zhao. I played about 5 or 6 games of Trundle today. He was felt really powerful. So these kind of champions, ones with high health and good clears, are going to really start to dominate the jungle. And you need to be able to duel for the Scuttle Crab, because that's pretty important.
Right.
Yeah.
Well
Those are my
said.
initial thoughts. Sure.
With the only one person here playing jungle, we just kind of have to fall on your back or jump on your back.
Yeah. And I think we're also going to... So, one thing, the Runic Echoes is a nerf to Nidalee and Elise, because they're sort of like more reliant on the movement speed, and since they're sort of the... they're kind of the best AP junglers historically, I think that's going to hold them back from being, top tier meta. And we might also see... I played a bit of Nunu, he felt pretty decent. Nunu and Ivern are very good at clearing the jungle, so they're always going to be doing pretty well, I think, this patch. The only thing that's holding those 2 guys back is they don't really have a proper keystone, so both of them have to kind of run Guardian or Comet or something kind of that's like borderline troll, because you don't really get to fully abuse that. So yeah, I think that's what the meta is going to fold out to be, and that's what I've seen in solo queue for the last day. So I've been climbing pretty hard, and it's I think I would definitely try and suggest someone just try to do that standard 4 camp clear and go into a gank or go into a Scuttle duel, because if you can do that with high health, you're going to find a lot of success in the early game. And if you get set behind in the jungle, it can be tough.
When the Rift Scuttler starts alternating spawns, are you still looking to contest that as a jungler? Are you planning around that? Obviously, you won't know what side it spawns on, but if you are on that side, you're looking to take that immediately.
You have the timer, so you will know what side's coming on. No, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to see laners that are coming down to take it quite often, because it gives huge experience for laners too, as well as like 114 gold, I'm pretty sure, which is a lot. So that's like, what, a cannon and a bit?
It makes up for all those cannons you'll miss. That's my biggest problem.
Right? So if you have any sort of if you don't have any if you have some lifesteal, and you shove the wave in and you don't pull off a successful roam as a mid or top laner, just pick up the Scuttle because it's free golden experience. I just think it's going to become more contested by everyone. But no, I don't actively plan around it. I do try and take it when it's up, though, not like in previous years when it was less valuable.
All right, don't worry about it. I'll take it. You just do your thing. Go gank bot lane.
I mean, it's worth a significant amount of jungle experience even without the jungle items.
Yeah, it's huge.
And so it really probably is worth top laners now paying attention to that camp or warding that camp to have an idea where the enemy jungler is so that you can go and contest it if that happens.
Yeah, you can contest, especially if you notice the enemy jungler is not going to have as healthy a clear like Shyvana. Now I know she's historically had a good clear, but now she's not as powerful early. Champs like Mumus and Zax, these guys aren't going to clear the jungle well, and you can potentially get a free kill in the river where people think they're safe.
No.
So champions who are clearing quickly and with full health can now invade the enemy jungle, and if they're not doing well through they're going to be lower level, and that just makes invading even more powerful. So you're going to see a lot more sort of jungle skirmishes happening.
Does Kayn bump up a bit on this patch as well?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. I haven't played him. I only got to play against him once today, and I was playing Trundle, and he struggled. The particular Kayn had a couple good counter ganks against him, so it wasn't. That's not really the good game to choose, but I think he's got a solid clear. You don't want to start Krugs anymore because Krugs doesn't give you the extra bonus XP. They got sort of sliced by 30%. So just do a standard clear with Kayn. He's got decent sustain with his E through the walls.
Yep.
And AoE, so you can't really complain with him. I think he's going to be perfectly sort of like mid to high tier. Not top tier, but definitely playable.
Well, something we didn't talk about with this is Hunter's Talisman and Hunter's Machete are being changed in this patch as well. They've attempted to buff Hunter's Talisman a bit. The Kindle damage is now 60 damage over 5 seconds. The Kindle heal is now 30 health over 5 seconds. That was 45 and 25 for those keeping track. The damage over 5 seconds is no longer amped up to 75 if you have bonus health. They removed the base mana regen in favor for 40 mana regen per 5 seconds based on missing mana while in the jungle or river. And it now has a new ability or new passive on it. The first large monster killed grants 120 bonus experience. I'm assuming they're putting that on there so that you can hit level 2 when you go and steal. When you go and
and
take
then
your first
it gets
camp.
around laners taking camps too.
Right. Hunter's Machete having it's kind of like a weird nerf buff, right? Not even nerf buff, just like the level out. Because they're removing, you no longer get 15% increased attack speed for 2 seconds when you attack a jungle monster with it, but you do have an extra 10 damage on hit versus monsters, which I suppose sort of levels out, but I do think it hurts, it hurts like tanks and stuff.
It hurts melee champions a lot too, like maybe not Kha'Zix, because he's quite good, but Kha'Zix certainly is going to feel this a little bit like Rengar, those kind of champions that rely on the attack speed less than their abilities. They're going to struggle with this, but once again, maybe we'll get to Graves in a little bit, but the attack speed does not affect him now. He just has like 10 flat AD at level 1, which is making his clear even better.
Yeah.
So any ranged champion that's taking Hunter's Machete is probably doing better with this, but any melee champion is probably struggling a little bit more.
Right. And they updated Skirmisher Saber and Stalker's Blade to match those changes as well.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much jungle. So get out there, experiment, just keep working on different clears and definitely contest Scuttle Crab as we go forward, because I do believe that is going to be something that everyone needs to be paying attention to, bottom and top lane alike. So other changes in this patch that have happened is the bounties. They now go to the single person who is killing it. Now going to the killer. The bounty is now going to the killer. It is no longer going to your team if you kill somebody on a kill streak.
I like that a lot.
I like this
it's
also.
Reverted. It used to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, giving power back into the hands of the people who are actually they could use it, I suppose. Or it really what it does is it stops. It affects rubber banding and it affects snowballing in both the same time.
Yeah.
I like that they've removed giving people bounties for only 1 kill. So, that's pretty wrong, right? So, if you trade in lane, in a solo lane, 1 for 1, like I dive and I kill them, but then I die to the turret.
Yep.
Right now on the current patch, that's I'm trading 100 gold to the enemy team. Everybody gets an extra 20 just because I traded and I died afterwards. I mean, that's just, you know what I mean? That's just weird.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I like it though. I feel like it allows someone to maybe carry by themselves harder, because if you have two fed people and then they fight each other and you shut down, you're the one who gets the kill. It just gives you so much more power yourself. And also like that when you die, it doesn't completely reset your bounty. So if you're legendary and then you die again, you're gonna have two shutdowns on you. So it's like really valuable now if you're ahead to make sure you don't die. So I wonder if you're like really far ahead, if maybe GA will be purchased more often, because like there's so much reward to the individual who does kill you that it can be really powerful into letting the enemy team back into the game.
You're assuming most people realize that these changes are happening, because I bet you people didn't even realize there was a 1 kill bounty. And how long have we had that for?
I don't know. Well, I just know that I got a kill and I got 700 gold for it in a game I played earlier, which was ridiculous.
That's pretty nice.
It's like you're Draven almost.
I know. That's what I was thinking. That's a
I mean,
great
obviously
feeling.
it sucks that person was really fed in order for that to happen, but getting that fat chunk of change was really nice.
Yeah. It really does affect rubber banding. Like if you're able to, we always talk about stalling it out and whatnot during times, and if you can stall out the game and kill those people around your turret or around the inhibitor or whatever it is, you can really rubber band the game back in your favor by getting these individual kills, because sometimes all it takes is for that marksman to get 700 gold or even 500 gold to be able to get to that next item they needed to turn a team fight around the next time it happens. So it'll be interesting to see how these affect the game. I'm really looking forward to it, and I know it sounds like you guys are as well. I have to actually scroll back up here in the patch notes a little bit because we did skip some things to talk about jungle. The warding totem, the top lane's favorite totem. The ward duration is now 90 to 180 seconds instead of 60 to 120. And the charge timer has been increased to compensate. It's now 240 to 120 from 180 to 90.
So less vision early, but you can set your ward down and forget about it for longer. But more vision late because you've got a little bit more time to set an extra ward while your first ward is still alive.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's trying to also helps with junglers who needed to take a green smite a couple patches ago. Stalker's Blade, was it?
It does. This sucks for bottom lane because you're going to have a bigger gap where you're blind in the bot side when you're using your warding totem early, which allows what we talked about last time, Frail, if you remember the conversation where with you, was it you or was it Bears talking about the 4-man pylon bot, which seems to be happening, with the increased
that's always a
frequency.
solid strategy, and I'm all for that being available more often.
And that should be now, and you really have to think about where you're putting ward, how you're going to use them. So it's now even more imperative for bottom laners, marksmen, to use your ward at least, because you need to be helping out, overlapping when your support has, because your support's not going to have as many wards as they previously did. You've got what are you missing there? Third, that's 30. You have a 30-second window roughly, right, where you're an extra 30 seconds where you're not going to have a ward, and that's a big window for something to move around and happen. So just keep that
to be
in mind.
problematic, an early pink ward might be worth the investment if you can defend it anyway.
I think that's always worth an investment, though, to be honest.
Yeah, but even more so now.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so that's that. More. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right, well, let's talk about the runes. They're doing the balance pass over the runes. Cheap shot in the domination tree. The damage has been increased. It was 12 to 30, now 15 to 40. And Ingenious Hunter, base active item cooldown reduction is 15%, and active item cooldown reduction per stack is 5%.
That's crazy amount of CDR coming out of that particular mastery. Combine that with the Predator Keystone for extreme speed.
Yeah, I'm always looking at Ingenious Hunter, but I ended up taking the increased movement speed out of combat more often than not if I'm going down that tree.
Well, if you're going Predator, you want the CDR on the item.
Right.
Because it just brings it up so much more frequently.
And cheap shots the one where you have to impair somebody, right?
Yeah, so I think with the ward changes, I think if you're mid lane, going cheap shot and zombie ward could be pretty solid, because that's a lot of extra damage. So you get the extra 2 damage, you get a lot extra poke, and then you're kind of compensating for the ward changes by having the zombie ward out also. So I think that could be something that you could look at doing if your character can proc cheap shot fairly easily. When I read that, I thought it's went up to 60. I might have misread that, but still, it's still a healthy buff when it's true damage.
I know they went back through, and maybe it was. Maybe they did say 60 at one point. I know they went back through these and they changed a bunch. Like, they shipped the patch notes, and I went and read the thread on Reddit, and they kept saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna change that. Oh, that was a typo. Oh, oops." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, guys, you're a professional organization. Look, can we not miss these little tiny things? We have an excuse. We're just a bunch of
Haven't they been
dudes in
doing
our
this long
basement."
enough? 8 seasons, come on.
That's what they say about us too. Punch. Sorcery phase rush movement speed was 15 to 40%, is now 25 to 40%. Vlad didn't really need any more buffs, right?
Yeah, Zinzao didn't need more buffs either. This is his main jungle keystone now. Phase rush, it's the new hotness. Yeah, already alluded to him before. I think he's going to be like top tier jungler this patch. You guys are out there looking to climb. Pick up Zinzao, dueling expert, flying around the map with phase rush. He's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vlad's good too.
And I've actually seen Vlad's taking Predator, because they'll get Predator Shurelya's, and then they'll just be everywhere. And the Predator empowered Q actually does a ton of damage.
I don't want to live in that world.
I didn't either. That game that we played with, that was not a pleasant experience for me.
Right. Resolve getting some changes as well. Demolish base damage up to 175 from 125. Cryolysis. I'm sorry.
Chrysalis.
I can never say that word. There's a few of them I can't say. Health is been decreased to 50, was 60, and bone plating 25 to 50 is now 15 to 40.
So Demolish, I mean, that's a nice little chunk of base damage. I feel like that's noticeable. I feel like the Chrysalis nerf was unnecessary, and the bone plating nerf was probably deserved.
Demolish is a lot more tempting now. I mean, Demolish is already really good. So now if you're playing anybody that can push, that can pressure your opponent's tower, man.
It's got a ratio on top of that too.
Isn't it max health or something? A percentage of your max health?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Extra damage to turrets is always nice.
Yeah,
I've seen Demolish Trinity, and it's horrifying.
Trinimir's already good.
Yep, he certainly is.
All right, inspiration, perfect timing. The time that the stopwatch is now available is back down to 8 minutes from 10.
This mastery sucks. Why did they?
Is that what it was before?
No, it was
like
6.
It was 6.
8's probably a good medium.
8's a good medium. 10 felt like it was too long. I never wanted to pick up the keystone anymore or the rune, anymore because of how long it took me to get that stopwatch. It wasn't worth the gold.
Well, I feel like if you're against like Zed or something, you still want it, because when you eventually do get Hourglass, you will have the extra CDR on the item. So I think that's always nice, even though it's kind of a wasted rune for the first little bit of the game.
Well, also for the last couple patches, a lot of people have been going Chrysalis bone plating in any lane.
Yeah, that gives you a lot of sustain against champions who don't have very good trading, so they can only do like one trade every once in a while, and they can't ever get through that.
Now that we've seen that nerf, we maybe see the stopwatch come back a little bit.
Probably not. I can't.
There's some champions that just want like their main keystone, and then they'll take the secondary tree, whatever keeps them safest, like survives them the easiest through the laning phase. So
No, that's not the hang up. The hang up is still you're sitting, 8 minutes to get the item level 7 by that time, 8 maybe. Maybe a little lower. I can't actually think. I'm thinking now. You're like what? 10 minutes is level 6, right?
No,
roughly, isn't it?
No, it's like 6.5 minutes, isn't it?
Level 6? Nah, it's a little. It's a little.
Quick.
I guess you're right.
Second rotation jungle buff. I hit level 6.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It is probably. Well, I'm thinking bottom lane. That's my problem because I'm usually level 4 around that time.
You're sharing XP.
Right. So anyway, I'm still thinking 8 minutes for perfect timing. It definitely makes it look at it. I think it goes back more to Frail's thing. It's like, are you going to be purchasing that item more quickly than than not, then probably perfect timing is the right rune to pick up for you. My hang up is that you still have like, you have what is it, minion DMAT and other items that are others you can pick into that tree, so it's really hard to find a rune slot for perfect timing.
Yeah, the cooldown.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much only taking it if you're planning on getting stopwatch in the first place.
Yeah, if it's key core to your items, like you're playing Klepto Akali or something.
Klepto Akali.
Yeah, I mean, someone like Vlad, someone
It's a
like
real thing.
Swain, who are probably going to get Hourglass every game, probably still want it also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. Besides like some weird bug changes and whatnot, we hit the items, the warning totem. That's the runes, jungles, bounties, replays, league client bug fixes, skins and chromas.
We got a Garen buff. We got a Garen buff, boys.
Yep. There's that.
Yeah.
Garen's Q now damages Team of Mushrooms.
Biggest thing you guys are going to notice jumping in patch 6.10 is going to be that junglers are weaker this patch. They're not going to be as high level ganking you as early, so if they do come for some early cheese, remember that you're probably going to be the same level or a little bit higher, and that you start with items and they don't start with items, so it's always pretty easy to fight junglers, except for Graves. Do not go near that guy, and I think he should be perma-banned, as he's disturbingly good. Mostly because he's a ranged champion, and he takes 0 damage and is clear, and pretty much everyone takes fleet footwork with him too, so you get a little healing. Yeah, he's absurd. About a patch ago, maybe 2 patches ago, they gave him all he was missing. They kept buffing him, like trying to fix him, and then they're like, hey, finally, we're just going to give him what he actually needs, which is some scaling MR per level, because he had no magic resistance. Because he's fine against like tanks and, sort of AD champions, but he's very bad against mages. You just get one shot by them. But yeah, now he has scaling MR plus a little bit more health growth, so he can just slide around the map. And what makes him so absurd is that level 2, which is going to be a key level in the jungle now, because that's 3 camps, so you can get invaded at level 2. If he has 8 stacks of his E, each stack gives him 5 armor. So he's at 40 armor, additional to what he starts with. So yeah, he's usually like 80 armor early game, 80 90 armor, and pretty much no champion can fight him. So
Yeah.
plus he's ranged, which makes it even more absurd, and that's another reason why he doesn't take damage. So if you're playing him, you want to be like clearing as many camps as you can, and while you're clearing, make sure your stacks are staying up at 8, so that when you do run into someone, you can just skirmish them, and you can tank 2 people early game. It's obscene.
I think his blind is also incredibly annoying, and the buff they did to the slow is really hard to deal with.
Yeah,
His
yeah, it's really good.
I hate that blind so much. I hate blinds in a game. That I could deal with stuns and knockups.
I think it's
and disables
technically
and
nearsighted. I think that's what it's
It's
officially.
nearsighted, yeah.
Well,
He's ranged. once
Sure,
again,
right,
so-
because you can see inside the circle, but still, any kind of that stuff kind of infuriates me. I just hate the fact that he can just drop it on top of me. It's not a skill shot. I mean, it is a skill shot, but it's so wide that it's not hard to miss.
You know what?
You're the Nocturne guy. You blind everyone.
Oh yeah, I do love me some Nocturne.
Black the map out.
I
Love me
have
some
a
Nocturne.
problem with Graves and champs like him, like Nidalee and Kindred and Elise. Like those 4 in particular are super polarizing in the jungle. So when they're really powerful, they just push the meta warps to like you either ban them or you play something that directly counters them, or you play them. Like that becomes the
Right.
meta. Like, and because of how powerful those champions are, and I think all 4 of them, the ones I mentioned, are pretty difficult to balance, and when they are in the spotlight, they can be really problematic. And I know Graves has been out of the... He's not as good as he was in Season 6. He also used to get 5 MR for that E, so he'd be 40 MR, 40 armor at level 2, which is pretty tough, but I still think he's super powerful.
So if they nerf, is it True Grit? That's his passive, right? So you think that they
Yeah.
nerf True Grit?
Well, the passive is on the E.
That's
It's not on
right.
his main passive, so
right.
they need to nerf that.
That's
Yeah,
just so
I don't
much
know, it just
armor.
doesn't-
I don't know
He
how.
just doesn't really have a weakness. You know, like if he was melee, he'd be like, that's fine. Like I'm okay with melee champions, but with ranged characters that have double the resistances of their like tank or melee counterparts in the early game, it's like
Well, see that
who possibly stands a chance against fighting them.
that was supposed to be his reason. His weakness is supposed to be his reloading. That was supposed to be, you had opportunities to outplay him through the time that it takes him to reload. He only gets two shots off, and you have to play around how Q bouncing off walls. That's supposed to be the other way to play around him. But you're right, when you give somebody a way to tank through the damage and it doesn't matter that you're being hit, that's when it becomes problematic. When a ranged character can just tank and eat shots to the face.
And they did not rework him to be a jungler, I don't think.
No.
I'm sure they reworked him to be a laner. So his weakness was you can't find him in minions, but in the jungle there's terrain everywhere, so his Q is always going to hit you. So it's pretty problematic. I was okay with him not being playable just because how intoxicating it can be to play against. So bad Graves are bad though. That's another thing. Like he's kind of like Nidalee in that regard. Like if the player isn't very good, then I would probably focus on playing. If you guys are out there looking to play champs like Xin, Trundle, I've had so much success with him recently. He's really powerful, has a great jungle sustain, and you just can't kill him in fights. I think Mundo will still be pretty good. Nocturne. Yeah, there's a bunch of champs that are sweet.
I'd be totally okay with them reverting Graves back to what he was previously.
Got that champ.
Sign me up.
Yeah, dude.
Old Graves was
Nope.
awesome.
I've
Frail,
been
were you
waiting
around
for
for
that.
Old
Likes-
Graves?
Nobody likes the new Graves.
Frail, were you here for Old Graves, for launch Graves?
I don't exactly recall, but I do vaguely remember. I didn't play him a
Buckshot
lot.
was awesome.
I mean, he is fun to play right now in the jungles because he's so powerful.
He's not the same.
He just one-shot people, and his build path is so cheap. That's another thing. Like the build path you go right now is like Red Smite Warrior into Ninja Tabby, so even more armor, and then Black Cleaver and like Phantom Dancer. So those items all cost less than 3k. It's pretty cheap. So he's hitting his power spikes early and hard. So
So ban Graves.
He's broken.
He is broken.
He's broken.
I think Kha'Zix needs to change too to his ultimate because going around the map invisible is a problem.
Hey,
Yeah.
funny you say that. I think that's exactly what they're planning.
Okay, good, because yeah, that's super dumb. Like he can just go through your entire jungle and not be seen with the R evolve. I think he's like balanced if you're taking Q, so I think they should just change it somehow.
I think they're
Give him
testing
tankiness, though. Yeah,
changes
I saw
to
that.
his ult. Yeah, looks pretty cool, but I didn't play. I
I'm
don't
down
play
for
Kha'Zix,
less.
so I don't know.
Less stealth is better in my opinion, but the new
Yeah, me too.
champion has stealth, so
Well, there were
think he was
those
they're
Stealth
clearly not listening to
counterplay.
me.
there were though changes on the PBE for Kha'Zix, like those stealth changes and stuff, and they pulled them before patch
Yeah.
10 hit. So I don't know. I haven't checked recently if they're back up for 8.11, but patch cycle should be here shortly.
I wonder
checked
if they'll
earlier
do
today, I
any
don't remember if
major-
they're there.
Oh, you know what? They probably
PBE
it's not probably not a
also.
patch cycle, is it? Right now. That
I don't
doesn't-
know. I just
it
know
does-
the next patch is going to be all the crit changes, so I doubt they'll do any super huge champion changes mixed in with that.
Yeah, it'd probably be the one after.
Oh no, wait. Pike's available on there. Never mind. I was thinking. Oh yeah, there's no balance changes up yet. Really, is there? Let me double click here. I'm sorry. I'm
There's a
clicking there.
couple.
You're right. There is.
That's
There,
all right.
the Kha'Zix changes have started coming back on there. Never mind. The patch cycle is around here. I got confused about the dates. So yeah, there are invisibility changes for him on the PBE right now.
They just need to make it so pink wards actually give vision of everything, and then I think it would all be okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that change I didn't like. Like stealth is fine, but you have to be able to have counterplay to it. So dropping a pink ward in fights helps, but then there's the other side of the coin too. Like if you're a Vayne player and like you only need 75 gold to counter me.
But she gets
But I
other
mean,
stats from her ult also,
know.
so it's
That's
not like
true,
it's a
yeah.
wasted ability.
Also, by the time she's taking over games in the late game, people don't usually have pink wards on their slots. So
That doesn't even work anymore, does it?
no, it
They
doesn't.
changed all that.
That's what I'm saying. Like it used to, right? So it used to just everyone would hold a pink and spam them for.
Right.
I
Rip.
think Akali players were like the biggest complainers about that. And it was pretty justified, but I think she's on the rework list.
Akali
Now she has uncounterable like 12-second stealth. Nothing you can
Yep,
do.
now you
just
can't
have
do
to wait
anything
for it
about
to
it.
run out. And when she leaves the stealth field, she's still stealth for like half a second for some reason.
I
Like
do
she
have
needed
to
that.
say, like she takes a little bit of skill to lane with, because you can punish her. But if you can play that champion well, there's a reason that TF Blade is always rank 1 with like 3 or 4 accounts. Because she's very difficult to punish if you're a good player.
There's not really a whole lot to it, to be honest. You just don't ever use your stealth until they try to be aggressive on you. Then you drop it, and you've gotten out of the engagement. The only time you can ever mess up a fight as a Kali is if you use your stealth when you can't be offensive and like 100% versus 100% all in and win. That's the only time like
yeah. And in lane, you just take a passive trade like Q auto or auto Q auto. Get your electrocute or your klepto proc, go back into the stealth, wait for your cooldown to come up on your Q, do it again, and they can't respond to that. So, fun.
Yeah, you just hold on to it and then drop it anytime they try to fight.
Hmm.
Very enjoyable.
I disagree with. It's not enjoyable, but I know you're being sarcastic, so it's okay.
All right.
But the fact that she's up for a rework is good. She needs one.
And that's the patch. And well, that's a Kali discussion. And previous to that was the patch, 8.10. So yeah, that's it, guys. They have a patch and have a Patreon, patreon.com/TForce Network. Some meta report.
Yes, we are recording it this week. I'm sorry it's late, everyone.
He is sorry.
We've had some hard times trying to get all of our top laners together, but we're gonna get that done in the next couple of days and get it out to you hopefully soon.
There you go. Meta report, $5 a month, patreon.com/TForce Network. That's it. That's all I got for this week. Anyone else? Anything? Not a Kali related.
Clash is back in 2 weeks. That's some other
Clash.
news.
I guess it's gonna stay back.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you guys know if they've changed anything for Clash this time?
Haven't looked. Haven't read.
I know it's
So-
I think it's a tournament every 2 weeks. So
They
Did they
added
change any part of the system?
trophy
since
things.
last time?
Oh, I heard you could actually watch previous Clash games against your opponent, but I think you only have 7 minutes to scout, so I don't know how much time you're going to actually have to look at those previous games. I mean, actually watch the previous game, not just see the stats.
Yeah,
they
they're
went
making
over a bunch of
replays.
the complaints from beta. I imagine any changes they made were related to the complaints from beta, but I haven't actually gone and looked and seen what they actually have switched over from them.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people in our Discord looking for teammates. If you guys or looking for a team out there, come
There's a
jump
couple
in.
threads on the
Jump in.
subreddit too. People are looking
Yeah.
for groups.
Discord.trinityforcenetwork.com. Reddit, r T-Force Network.
Instagram,
Instagram, don't have one.
LinkedIn,
Nope, don't have one of those either.
all the
LinkedIn,
socials.
Twitter, T-Force
Hey, you
Network.
gotta throw your LinkedIn up there.
MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace. There you go.
Y'all, you know who I put in my number one now? I moved Beaver out of there because he played Graves today. Punch is now back to my number one friend.
I was your number one friend.
Yeah, but then you started playing Graves, so sorry about your luck, pal.
I
You're
mean,
number
he was
two.
open. I wanted to win a game, so I picked.
Hey, LP doesn't win itself.
Hey, man, you can't fault me for that.
I did.
He's playing
because
to
I thought
win,
you
man.
got moved to number two.
Okay, well, I'll accept it for now. I'll win it back. What do I need to do? Do I need to play Karthus Jungle?
Yeah,
That-
probably not.
Because he benefits from the new Runic Echoes, I'll have you know.
There you go. All right, guys, I'm going to end it there. That's patch 8.10. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you all next week. Peace.
See you.
Take care.
So, yeah.
Later.
Thanks for listening to our product and being a member of the Trinity Force Network community. If you have a moment, please head over to iTunes and give your favorite show a comment and a rating. If you're so inclined, you can check out all of the other great shows in the network. We've got a wide variety of content from League of Legends to general gaming and role-playing podcasts. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we can be found at Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit under T-Force Network. We've also got a Patreon under that name where you can support your favorite shows with a small donation each month. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you continue to enjoy all of our podcasts, videos, and the community that we provided.